My name is Michael Turner, and for more than 20 years, my sister's disappearance lived quietly inside me, like a wound that never closed and never bled enough to be noticed. People around us learned how to move on. They learned how to say her name less often. They learned how to call it a tragedy from the past. I never did. For me, Laura was always just one unanswered question away from coming home. Laura Turner disappeared in the summer of 2001 from our small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your business, where people waved from their porches and trusted unlocked doors. She was 22 years old, worked part-time at a local bookstore, and talked endlessly about becoming a teacher one day. She liked quiet things, paperbacks, coffee shops, early mornings. She still lived with our parents and called if she was even 10 minutes late. Running away was not in her nature. Leaving without a trace was impossible to imagine. On June 17th, she left the house around 8:30 in the evening to buy groceries. She asked my mother if we needed anything else, grabbed her keys, and said she'd be back soon. The door closed behind her, and nothing about that moment felt important. It should have. That was the last time any of us saw her alive. By midnight, my mother was pacing. By 1, my father was driving the streets, checking the grocery store parking lot, the diner, the library. At 2 in the morning, he called the police. The officer on the line told him to wait, told him adults were allowed to disappear, told him not to panic yet. Panic didn't listen. The next morning, Laura's car was found in the parking lot of a closed gas station near the highway. The engine was cold. The keys were still inside. Her purse sat untouched on the passenger seat. No broken glass. No blood. No sign of a struggle. Just an empty car under flickering lights and a silence that felt wrong. The town rallied at first. Volunteers searched fields and wooded areas. Dogs were brought in. Flyers went up on every window. Candlelight vigils filled the park at night. Laura's face stared back at us from photocopied paper, smiling like nothing bad could ever happen to her. After 3 weeks, the searches slowed. After 3 months, they stopped completely. Life doesn't wait long for missing girls. The police needed answers, and the town needed someone to blame. They focused on Ethan Brooks, Laura's ex-boyfriend. Ethan wasn't dangerous, but he was easy to suspect. He had a short temper, a messy breakup, a truck that someone claimed to see near the gas station that night. He denied everything. He cried during questioning. He begged them to keep looking for Laura. None of that mattered. There was no body and no real evidence, but the story sounded clean enough. People wanted closure more than truth. A year later, Ethan Brooks was arrested and charged with Laura's murder. The trial moved fast. The evidence was thin, but the jury trusted the narrative they were given. The prosecution talked about jealousy and rage. They painted Ethan as a man who couldn't accept rejection. The defense barely had room to breathe. Ethan was convicted. Laura was declared dead. The case was closed, stamped, and filed away. Everyone else learned how to live with that ending. My family didn't. My mother refused to accept Laura's death. She kept her bedroom exactly the same. The books on the shelf, the clothes in the closet, the faint smell of her shampoo on the pillow. On holidays, she cooked Laura's favorite meals and set an extra plate at the table. Every birthday, she lit a candle and whispered her name like a prayer. My father shut down in a different way. He stopped talking about the case entirely. He said the past couldn't be changed and the truth wouldn't bring her back. Silence was his survival. I tried to believe the system worked. I told myself the police wouldn't put an innocent man in prison. I told myself they wouldn't stop looking if there was hope. But something never felt right. Too many gaps. Too much certainty where there shouldn't have been any. At night, I replayed that last ordinary evening over and over, wondering where it went wrong. Years passed. Technology advanced. DNA testing became sharper. Cold case units started reopening files across the country. Stories popped up on the news about families finally getting answers after decades. Laura's case stayed buried, untouched, like it didn't deserve another look. Until the spring of 2021. That's when my phone rang. The woman on the line introduced herself as Detective Sarah Collins from the Ohio Cold Case Unit. Her voice was calm and careful, like she was holding something fragile. She told me they were reviewing old evidence using modern DNA technology. I told her the case had already been solved. I told her the man responsible was already in prison. There was a pause on the line, and then she said something that made my hands shake. "We don't think he did it." They had found Laura's jacket in an evidence box that hadn't been opened in years. Back in 2001, the DNA sample on it was too small to identify. Technology had limits then. Now it didn't. They ran the sample through the national database. The DNA did not belong to Ethan Brooks. It belonged to someone else. For the first time in 20 years, hope felt dangerous. 2 weeks later, Detective Collins called again. She gave me a name I hadn't heard in years. Daniel Moore, our neighbor in 2001. The man who helped search for Laura. The man who hugged my mother at the vigil. The man who testified in court that he saw Ethan near the gas station that night. Daniel Moore had moved out of state years ago. No criminal record. No history of violence. Just a familiar, trusted face. Police tracked him down in Arizona. At first, he denied everything, but the evidence kept stacking up. Old phone records placed his phone near the gas station the night Laura disappeared. Toll booth footage showed his car on the highway minutes after Laura was last seen. As investigators dug deeper, something even darker emerged. Similar unsolved disappearances in other states. Nevada, New Mexico. Different years. Same pattern. Women vanishing near highways. Cold cases that had never been connected before. After 2 days of questioning, Daniel Moore broke. He said he followed Laura from the bookstore. He said he saw her car struggling to start and offered help. He said she trusted him because she knew him. He said things got out of control. He said it was an accident. It never is. Daniel led police to a remote wooded area where Laura's remains were buried. 20 years underground. 20 years of waiting. When they called to tell us she had been found, my mother collapsed into a chair and cried in a way I had never heard before. It wasn't just grief. It was release. Ethan Brooks was released immediately. He walked out of prison with gray hair and tired eyes. 20 years stolen from him by a lie everyone accepted too easily. He didn't celebrate. He didn't smile. He said no apology could give him back his life. Daniel Moore never stood trial. He died in prison before it could begin.
No dramatic courtroom ending.
No final speech. Just the truth arriving late, as it often does. That we buried Laura properly this time. My mother held my hand and whispered, "She's home." For the first time in decades, it felt like something inside us could finally rest. People ask why cold cases matter. This is why. Because time doesn't erase crime. It hides it. Because justice delayed still matters. Because families deserve answers, even if they come too late to save anyone. And because sometimes the truth waits patiently until someone finally decides to look again.